Good afternoon, folks. I'm Jim West. I'm from Ringgold, Georgia. Anybody here from Georgia? Go Bulldogs! Sorry about that, volunteers. I have to say that the first thing I want to share with you is my son Mark has warned me to be careful not to fall off the stage. He's such a caring son. Well, we're going to have a little fun here in just a few minutes. I hope you'll participate in this. How many of you are completely frustrated with Congress and the administration for passing the $847 billion stimulus bill? It's called the Collins-Nelson bill, and it was passed by the Senate after the House passed 407 pages over to them. By the time the Senate got through reworking it, it turned out to be 778 pages long. It was finished, of course, during the night, under cover of darkness, before being voted on the next day. And even the earmarks or the pork projects were hastily penciled in at the last minute. And so it includes $750 billion worth of new spending. So what do you think about this enormous spending bill? Did I possibly hear someone say, I don't know, I haven't read it? Well, not to worry. There are 100 other people who call themselves our servants, senators who didn't read it either before they signed it. So that's exactly what you would expect from them, perhaps. So much for responsible government. Before voting, they didn't read it. Thanks, but no thanks. Now, the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Committee, the CBO, estimates that the debt package will actually increase the national debt by $9.3 trillion over the next 10 years. Don't you like that? And that's in addition to the $11 trillion debt we already owe. Now, where in God's name is this money going to come from? Because we don't presently have it. I think we all know that. Well, it's going to come from loans. Oh, isn't that wonderful? We're going to borrow more money. Loans that we hope other nations like China and Japan will loan us. Did you know that just those two countries alone actually currently own 44% of U.S. debt? You know, the Bible says the borrower is servant to the lender. So what does that make us to China and Japan? And they say the money's going to come from increases in taxes on the wealth producers of our nation and who create the jobs. Well, there we go again. We're going to hit the businessman and the people who are producing the wealth so that the rest of us can have jobs, and we're going to hit them right in the pocketbook. And then they say the money's going to come from increasing the money supply. That's code language or doublespeak for printing more money, which will drastically shrink the buying power of the few dollars that we now have. That's called hyperinflation. This is an attempt, of course, to borrow our way out of debt. How many of us think that that makes any sense at all? You know, Sir Winston Churchill said, I contend that for a nation to try to tax itself into prosperity, and I might add here, borrow its way out of debt, is like a man standing on a bucket and trying to lift himself up by the handle. Now, if you've tried that, you know how difficult that is. And who will eventually be straddled with this debt? Your grandchildren and mine. How many grandparents do we have here today? Yeah. And just think of what that's going to mean for your little ones. Many children not yet born are already in debt. And when they breathe their first breath in the world, someone's going to present them with $36,000 of debt that they already owe. So what do you think of the so-called stimulus bill? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think of it. I think we need to get rid of it, don't you? And since it wasn't important enough to read before voting upon it, it probably means that it isn't worth the paper it's printed on. So perhaps we should just shred the entire bill. Those of you who agree with me and like to help me, you're invited to come to the platform right now where we have a commercial-sized printer out the side there, and we are going to actually shred this entire document. And you can have your picture taken while you do it. So come on up here and help me out.
Actually has, oh my God.